Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcast. My guest, I'm really excited to talk to him, is Dr. Andreas Eenfeldt. He's the founder of dietdoctor.com, renowned person that talks about health issues, especially diabetes worldwide and other health issues. So, Andreas, how you doing?
I'm all right. So thank you for having me. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So tell me a little background. You know, you're a doctor. What got you into caring about nutrition and health? You know, when most doctors seem to just care about, being mean to their patients or just prescribing medicines to them or wanting to send them to surgery and chop them up.
Yeah, well, I do think most doctors do care about health, but maybe not nutrition. And it could be because we get a couple of days of training in med school. And while we have a few years of training about medicines and a few years about surgeries, we have a few days about nutrition. So I guess any doctor who's really interested in that, they have to learn on their own. And I started doing that, and I found it really fascinating. And the more I learn, really, the more interesting it becomes. And I think it's a huge weakness when it comes to medical education that doctors don't really know about nutrition, because in a way it's the foundation of health. You are what you eat. And that's a cliche, but it's basically true. And you cannot be, it's not easy to find perfect long-term health in a pill. And it's not really easy to outrun a bad diet. In a way, diet is, what you eat is gonna affect your health. Doesn't matter what pills you take, it's still gonna affect it.
What if you just were to just assign a percentage to it? I know it's a very crude calculation, but what percentage of health do you think lies in diet? A good one or a bad one?
Yeah, that's a very good question and a very hard question. I don't think there is any studies to rely on to say with certainty a number. But if you ask me, I would say more than 50% is diet, and then most of the rest is other lifestyle factors like exercise, sleep, stress, other things like that. And how about modern science and drugs and surgery? That's really only for certain issues. It's great if you get hit by a car, then certainly go to the hospital. That's a great place to go. If you get cancer, if you're unlucky like that, then certainly go to see a doctor. But when it comes to chronic disease and things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, all these things that a lot of people get on put on drugs for every day for the rest of their lives. Often, lifestyle intervention can be far more effective without any drugs.
How about,
at least that's my experience, treating patients.
Yeah. Well, what do you notice about people as they age? Does diet become, more and more and more important, or is it still kind of stay at that, let's say, at least 50% importance? Or does it get to be 80% or 90% important? Any just ballpark thoughts there?
I think it's very, individual. It depends on the situation. And, if you have certain conditions like type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure or obesity, then you could do even more great things by changing your diet or changing your lifestyle. If you are relatively healthy, if you're happy with your health and you have no health issues that you know of, then maybe whatever you're doing is good enough, and maybe you don't have to do anything. So it depends, I guess.
So what's your protocol when you talk to patients? Is your first meeting all about nutrition, or what typically happens when you see people? First of all, what do they come to you? What problems do they have when they come to you, and then how do you work with them initially?
Yes, so I worked as a family doctor for about 10 years, but I actually do not do that anymore. I quit more than 3 years ago, to focus completely on this company, the Diet Doctor company, and our online, website, and trying to. Basically, the idea was that working as a family doctor, most often you try to help one person at a time to improve their health in some way. And obviously, issues like type 2 diabetes that perhaps affects 400 million people or more today, or obesity, which might affect billions of people today, you can't really make any meaningful impact on numbers like that trying to, talk to one person at a time. So I did have this website that became really popular in Sweden, and then, in the English-speaking market, the dietdoctor.com website, where, now hundreds of thousands of people every day visit. That's a different scale. So that was the reason really that I felt, trying to help one person, while that's great and it's fantastic with every doctor or every healthcare professional who can do that, that's a fantastic thing. But what if you can affect the outcome for 10 people in that time, or 100 people, or even 1,000 people? Then that's another scale. And if you have the ability to do that, I think you have the responsibility to try at least. So that's why I, quit. But anyway, so going back to your question, back when I did work in a clinic as a family doctor, I would basically treat patients for whatever issue they came with, and not everybody needs diet advice. Let's say they have a cold, or they have it can be many things. Not everybody needs to change their diet, but for certain issues, I found fascinating this thing called metabolic syndrome, which is connected to obesity. It's connected to type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure, certain other things. That's where a low carb diet, where you actually try to avoid added sugars, you try to avoid large amounts of refined carbohydrates and starch, it can be enormously effective. And for me, it transformed my practice as a doctor when I started recommending patients to try this, because I was used to patients coming back perhaps a year later from their earlier visit, and they are a year older and they are a year sicker. Their risk factors have gotten a little bit worse. Let's say they have type 2 diabetes, they may need to increase the dose of their medication, or they may need new medication, maybe add insulin injections or something like that. That was just normal. Everybody, all my other colleagues and so on, they consider this to be normal, and that's what people said in books and so on. It's just normal. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it's not fun. It's not fun for the patients, right. And it's not fun for anybody. So when I started to, based on reading books and starting to look at a lot of studies saying that yes, this actually seems to work. So I started experimenting, based on that, by telling my patients to try this, and then we'll follow it up, and we'll do new testing just a few weeks later or a month or two later, and they come back and suddenly their numbers are better, and they are losing weight instead of gaining weight, and they're feeling great. And I started getting gifts from patients. I never got gifts from patients. I don't know, but suddenly they start bringing me gifts because they're so happy about their new lifestyle and how they can get off drugs instead of increasing the dosage of their drugs. So that was a profound shift for me, and that's where it started.
That's very cool. So now that your main focus is the Diet Doctor website, before, when you were practicing physician, you'd see hundreds and thousands of people. Now I know you're helping a lot more than that, but do you keep your finger on the pulse of individual people and what's going on with them? Like, what kind of data do you see in running this website? Do you still interact with hundreds or thousands of people that have metabolic syndrome, or, do you help them eat better? Like, I know, again, you deal with, recipes and videos and experts and all that, but I would think it would be important to keep your finger on the pulse of individual people, at least somewhat, and seeing what they're doing and how they're progressing.
Sure. I mean, that's a good question. I would actually love for us to start a Diet Doctor clinic where we could have patients and, we could have other doctors working there. And it's, it's on the list of things I would love for us to do in the future. I mean, now we're a company of about 40 people now. We're still focusing, almost exclusively online, except for conferences and so on. But yeah, I mean, in the future, I would love for us to have a clinic of our own as well. So I think that's a valid point. Would be great. So what I get now is, I meet a lot of people when I go to conferences. For example, I was at a Low Carb Universe conference, 2 days ago, meeting people, should say, who have tried the low carb diet and, get to hear their stories. Also, we get sent these absolutely amazing success stories basically every day, but certainly a few every week, like longer success stories with, before and after pictures, and people want to share their, stories with our readers. It's just amazing the stories that you get to read from truly transformational lifestyle changes. So I mean, I do feel like I have some feedback still, maybe in some ways more than ever. But yeah, I would love to work, for us to have a clinic where we could even more sort of have as you said, the finger on the pulse. That would be really fantastic.
Yeah, I could see, you could have local meetup groups, like local diet doctor meetup groups that would be sponsored by the company somehow, like Weight Watchers does, let's say, or I guess there's a lot of ways to move forward as you progress.
There's a lot of ways. I mean, we have some of that, occasionally we have these meetups of people who are members to our site, and we just, invite a few volunteers sort of and take them out for dinner and talk. So that's also something that can be done. We do that occasionally, but we don't have like Weight Watchers sessions where people come and stand on a scale or anything like that.
Well, what are you seeing from the data? Again, you have so many people visiting the site and watching videos and interacting. Like, what kind of trends are you seeing lately?
So I think there is a lot of things going on. I think there are a couple of trends, at least, that are really important. And the first one is that I think a foundation behind this, or one of the main causes perhaps of this epidemic that we're seeing of obesity around the world and type 2 diabetes and a lot of related diseases, is this whole thing basically started, or most of it started as we became really afraid of natural fat. So back in the early 80s, people were told with increasing certainty that, to be healthy and to avoid heart disease and probably other diseases as well, you're supposed to avoid fat, right? You're supposed to not eat butter. You're supposed to not eat meat or eggs or anything like that. No fat and no cholesterol, because that's what leads to heart disease. There was never any good scientific evidence to support that theory. And the problem, I would say, is that if you avoid a lot of, old-fashioned natural foods like that, you're going to be more hungry, and you will have to eat more of something else to feel satisfied. And in today's world, that other thing is very often refined carbohydrates and sugar. Like, if you produce low-fat food products, you take away the fat, then it's not going to taste very well. So how you solve that, you add a lot of sugar. It's great. Now it tastes good and it's cheap. Only problem is people tend to gain weight from eating that, and that's what happens. So I think there is a strong trend now in the last decade or so, but certainly in the last few years, where people are sort of starting to give up that fear of fat and sort of accepting that, hey, natural fat is neutral. You don't have to fear it. Not like you have to eat a lot of fat, just that you don't have to be afraid of it either. It's fine to use butter when you're cooking, or it's fine to eat eggs. Don't have to worry about it. So that's one trend I think that's very strong. And the other trend is,
right,
we're going from this idea that weight loss or weight maintenance or maintaining a good weight is all about counting your calories, which is a very strange idea actually, because back, let's say 50 years ago or 100 years ago or 200 years ago, whatever you choose, nobody even knew what a calorie was basically. If you ask someone on the street, nobody would even know. Yet they were all thin, now most people know about calories, and a lot of people are counting calories every day, and yet we have an obesity epidemic. So it doesn't seem to be working that well. More importantly, if you look at studies, you can find that counting calories and trying to eat less is not very effective. So the problem, most likely, I would say, is that just counting calories and trying to eat less is quite hard if you're hungry, if you want to eat. So it doesn't work that well. The interesting thing is when you look in studies, you can see that a low carb diet, you remove the sugar, you remove most of the starch, people tend to eat less spontaneously. Even if you don't tell them to count their calories, they still tend to eat less. And you find in studies that people actually get less hungry on a low carb diet. So they spontaneously eat less without even counting. And then there are studies, including a study published just a few days ago in the British Medical Journal, a really big study showing that people on a low carb diet actually burn more calories, which is really interesting. Somewhere between 200 and 500 calories per day, which is a huge amount, depending on different groups you look at, whether they have high insulin levels or low insulin levels and so on. But somewhere in that vicinity,
why do you think 500
calories a day. Well, there are theories about that on the low carb diet, the hormone insulin, you have a lower level of that, which is a fat storing hormone. So when you have low levels of that, fat is released from the fat stores, and it's easy for the body to burn it, and it sort of encourages the body to burn excess fat if you have excess weight. While if you're on a higher carb diet, your insulin levels, the levels of these fat storing hormone go up, and it's not as easy for the body to burn the fat because it's sort of locked away in the fat stores because of this fat storing hormone. And also you're basically burning the carbohydrates that you're eating because you cannot store much of that. So the body is in a constant sort of glucose burning or carbohydrate burning mode mostly. While on a low carb diet, after a while your body gets adapted to burning more fat for energy, which also makes it very easy to, theoretically at least, to burn your excess body fat as well. The body is already burning fat, so you just keep doing that. So nobody exactly knows everything about this, but it's really interesting in that we have been told that to lose weight you have to eat less and move more, to sort of eat fewer calories and burn more calories. But the thing is, it seems like the smart way to do it is probably with some form of a low carb diet, at least for a lot of people, because what you end up doing is spontaneously eating fewer calories because you're less hungry, and spontaneously burning more calories because your fat storing hormone is low. So it's very easy for the body to burn excess fat if you have it. So you end up eating less and burning more calories without even doing any counting or even not even thinking about it, which is in a way what people used to do 100 years ago when nobody knew what a calorie was, and it works.
What I'm curious, what percentage of people were difficult cases? They would do a low carb, low starch diet, low sugar diet, and maybe they would lose weight and they'd plateau, or lose weight and plateau, or maybe wouldn't lose nearly as much weight as they wanted to. How often did you see that? How often do you see that, and what do you think is the reason, and what can people do about it?
That's a good question. That's certainly fairly common, sure. Not everybody loses weight easily on a low-carb diet, and not everybody loses as much weight as he or she would like. Certainly not. So there are many, many reasons, I think, and many, many different things that can be done. So for one thing is, are people really doing a very low-carb diet, or are they just doing a moderate low-carb diet? Maybe they need to reduce the carbs even more to get the effect that they need. Another thing, if they really do that, is is it a low-carb diet that they need? Is the problem that that makes them gain weight, that they have high insulin levels, or insulin resistance, or this metabolic syndrome, then low carb tends to be quite effective. But there are other reasons to gain weight as well. And for those other reasons, low carb might not be all that effective. For example, some women after 40, due to hormonal changes, often tend to gain a number of pounds. And, low carb is not necessarily effective for that. And they might lose weight on low carb, but not as much as they would like. I think the biggest group that do not lose as much weight as they would like on a low carb diet is women over 40. And they may have to do other things or just, accept that it's really hard for some people in that situation to get to the same weight as they used to have, unfortunately. So there are other things to do, like intermittent fasting can help some people. Hormone supplementation might help a few people. And for other people, maybe it's more about, accepting that some things change with time and the norms in our society are not always, compatible with what's normal for our bodies, unfortunately. And then you get to a situation where you maybe have to say that, hey, I'm happy the way I am. I'm not going to try to look the way people expect me to look. My health is good. I feel great. I should just be happy the way I am. And I think that's great. Other people might feel, I really want to lose a few pounds anyway. And, you can always count your calories. You can always, do some intermittent fasting. But, if it leads to not feeling great or being hungry, maybe it's not worth it. So I guess it's...
Yeah. It's just odd to me that, I know it's such a complicated issue, but it's just odd that it doesn't work for some people. And, I know some of them are not compliant, but there are some, I'm sure, that are, and they're still having issues. So I just wonder how often you saw that in your practice and what I hear your thoughts on it. I just wonder if you had any other thoughts about it.
Sure, there are other things to do as well. Sleep is a big factor. If people have not great sleep, then that can impact weight loss. Stress can be a factor. If you have a very stressful life, then perhaps you may want to look at ways to make it less stressful. That can be helpful. Certain medications can be an issue for weight loss, and maybe there are other medications that can be used, or maybe they are not needed, and then that can be helpful. Certainly, exercise can have some effect on weight loss, although it's people often have unrealistic expectations about the effect of exercise. So maybe it's not as effective as most people believe today, but it certainly has some effect. So that can be helpful too. And there are even more things that you can do, but those are, I guess, some of the main ones. Intermittent fasting, adding that to a low carb diet can be really powerful as well. Like only eating within 8 hours of a day and fasting for 16 hours, which could be, you eat lunch and dinner and then you don't eat anything until lunch the next day. And on a low carb diet for a lot of people, that's relatively easy to do. And that can be effective too, to increase the power of a low carb diet.
Any other things out there you've seen helpful? What about the ketogenic diet? I'm sure you've run into that, and it's talked about on the Diet Doctor site. What are your thoughts around that versus low carb?
Sure. Ketogenic diet is a low carb diet. It's a very strict low carb diet where you restrict your carbohydrates to perhaps below 20 grams a day. So it's a strict low carb diet. I think that's probably the most effective low carb diet because it seems to be, there are no good studies really comparing different levels of carb restriction. But it seems from experience, from clinical experience, it seems like the lower the carbs, the more effective it tends to be for weight loss. So that would make it likely that a strictly ketogenic low carb diet is going to be a bit more effective. So that's what I believe. And it would be great. It would be great if someone did a study to compare a ketogenic diet, let's say below 20 grams of carbs, with a more moderate low carb diet with, say, 50 grams a day or 75 grams a day. That would be really interesting to see. Would there be a clear difference? My guess is they would both be pretty effective, but the stricter diet would be slightly more effective.
Yeah, a question popped into my head. If you look at macros, today versus 50 years ago, what do you guess the differences would be in terms of the macros that people take in their diet in general?
Yeah, so if you just look at the average numbers in the population, the percentage of fat has gone down in the last 3 or 4 decades, while the percentage of carbohydrates is up by a number of percentage points. So if you look back in time, people used to eat a larger percentage of fat and a lower percentage of carbohydrates. But I think the main difference, if you look back even further, like 150 years or so, is that the carbohydrates that people did eat were a lot less processed, a lot less refined, a lot less added sugar, a lot less white flour, and more, high fiber, unrefined carbohydrates that are slower to be absorbed and less sugar, certainly. So I think that's probably the main factor.
Okay. And any trends that you're seeing that are developing right now, good or bad?
I think there is, a good trend that people are more aware of, the potential dangers of refined carbohydrates and sugar. Even, experts and scientists are getting much more aware of that. So that's a good trend, I think, but it's really taking a long time. This is like, it took 50 years for people to stop smoking. Most people, not all people, of course. I think it's going to take 50 years for most people to get off added sugar, mostly. It's going to take a long time, most likely, but it's happening.
And then, Aaron, just 1 or 2 more questions. You talked about intermittent fasting as a good adjunct, for people that want to lose weight and be healthier. You talked about, if they can, keto being more strict than low carb, that may be a benefit. Any other items out there that you see are benefits to helping people lose weight and to get in better health? Exogenous ketones, for instance, metformin,
interesting
groups,
interesting
losing
topic,
weight in a group, etc.
Yeah, I mean, doing it, losing weight in a group and keeping each other accountable. I think that's probably effective for a lot of people, if not all people. And when it comes to exogenous ketones, I'm not a huge proponent. There are no studies, as far as I'm aware of, at all that show any effect on weight loss. And theoretically, I would argue that it's quite likely it has the opposite effect, because you're basically adding extra empty calories on top of whatever else you're eating. That's all you're doing. Drinking empty calories. There's no nutrition in there except for the energy from the ketones. So I find it hard to believe that would help people in general to lose weight. So the counter argument is that these drinks could potentially help make you less hungry and you would eat less bad food potentially, and that could be helpful. And in theory that might happen, but I've seen absolutely zero evidence to support that idea. So for me, I would say that's expensive empty calories people are drinking if they are after weight loss.
Okay. And then what about any weight loss drugs? Any of them good? Metformin, insulin seems to have the opposite effect. Anything you think that may be useful, or stay away if you can?
Yeah, I would not recommend it as a first option to anybody really. Metformin might have a little bit of an effect, but it's not powerful for weight loss really. I mean, it might have a tiny effect. There are some drugs that are mainly used for type 2 diabetes that certainly have weight loss as a side effect, like the GLP-1 analogs. What is it called in the US? Saxenda or something. It's called Victoza in Europe. I mean, there are lots of different brand names, but the GLP-1 analogs, they are fairly effective, actually. You can lose a number of pounds using that, but it's also quite expensive. And then you have these SGLT2 inhibitors where you take a pill and it basically helps you pee out sugar through your kidneys, which can lead to some weight loss. But it's not good to combine that with a low carb diet because there are some cases of ketoacidosis, which is a dangerous sort of metabolic dysfunction in the body that could actually kill you. So it's not recommended to do that together with the keto diet. It could be very dangerous. But the GLP-1 analogs, those injectable weight loss drugs, I mean, they are expensive and there are side effects and dangers to that as well. But at least they have some effect, certainly.
So for the most part,
that's a
back
first
to diet.
treatment. Yeah, it's diet and lifestyle. Certainly, that's the way to lose weight and feel good while doing it without having to spend money, without having hopefully any negative side effects long term.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, probably. So tell me about Diet Doctor a bit. What are some of the resources there, and what do people find most interesting or useful that you get anecdotes from?
Yeah, sure. So dietdoctor.com is the largest low-carb and keto website in the world. Hundreds of thousands of people visit every day. We have basically everything you need to do a low-carb or keto diet, to make it simple, to make it safe, effective, and all the recipes you might need, meal plans, etc., etc. 2-week challenge. You can sign up for daily emails, etc. to get you started. All that stuff is free. And then it's all supported. We don't, we show no ads. We take no money from industry. We sell no products. The only thing we have is we're supported by the people with an optional membership. So you can basically use the site to do keto or low carb without paying anything. But if you want the premium version, we have, about 100 meal plans, shopping lists, and 400 videos, movies, presentations, video courses, everything you could imagine on the topic. And there's a free trial for a month. People can use that part of the website for free as well if they like. That's fine. After that, if people want to stay, it's $9 a month. Cancel anytime, like Spotify or Netflix, but cheaper. And that's how we're supported. We have 55,000 members now. So that's where we get our revenue. That's what helps us, our members, funds our people and the 40 people who work with the website, soon to be 50 people, I hope, trying to hire fantastic people. If anybody's listening who's passionate about low carb or keto and wants to come work with us in Stockholm, Sweden, then they should send us an email.
That's fantastic. That's great. Well, Andreas, anything, my last question is, anything that's really surprised you about your journey and about the people you've seen, and anything unusual or interesting or anything that makes you feel really, really good that you want to mention?
I think what surprises me the most, or what has surprised me the most with this whole journey is, how hard it is to change your mind about things. And I guess it's true for everybody, including me. But I thought when I got started with this, 15 years ago, I got really interested in low carb. I started the website 11 years ago. I thought maybe in 5 years, everybody's going to know about this. It's going to be just obvious to anybody. But here we are 11 years later, and yes, things have improved, and yes, things are moving in the right direction all the time. But still, experts are saying that eating eggs is going to kill you, or eating butter is going to give you a heart attack. And it's pretty amazing that still happens in 2018. But I think it's really connected to how hard it is for people to change their minds if they've been convinced of something for decades. It's really hard, and this is a change that's going to take another decade or two, maybe 3. Just hoping that the work that people are doing online, spreading the message, and all the stories that gets shared, and all the stuff on social media, is going to make it happen faster. So it's an exciting journey. I wish it was faster, but at least a lot of people are doing what can be done.
Well, very
good.
I
mean, basically, it comes down. I just want to finish. Sorry, I thought that there are a billion people. That's billion with a B in the world with metabolic syndrome, with obesity, with type 2 diabetes, where low carb can really transform their lives to the better. And I hope that all of them will have that opportunity and get the support that they deserve.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot of people that unfortunately may end up with all kinds of disabilities and sicknesses and unhappy lives. So there's a lot of people that need help.
Definitely.
Well, very good, Andreas. Thank you for the work that you do and for DietDoctor.com and for all your help. I'm glad you came to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.